Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. You know how it is with the technology. We're just talking about how these tech companies boomed during the pandemic, but it still doesn't mean that connectivity is always perfect. But let's get right
That's
into the
true.
conversation. With the reopening of streams and beaches and water courses, how has the tour operators been, surviving with the reopening now?
Okay, well, it's a little too soon to tell because it just opened last week, and the beaches and the waterfalls, the rivers, and so on, there's a particular type of visitor that will go to those areas. So people who are interested in eco and so on. Locals would not necessarily hire a tour operator to take them to the beaches or to take them to the waterfalls. We really don't have that influx of visitor arrivals for us to say that we can gauge what that is going to mean to us. We are, however, very happy that our people can get back to the beaches and so on, get some sun, sand, and sea, and some R&R. What we would, however, like to see is that for the domestic tourism to take off, we need to have the other sites and attractions open. The Gaspery Caves, Fort George, these areas. Most of the other sites and attractions are closed. The specific opening of the watercourses, of course, would have been to benefit the Bucco Reef tour operators, Carney Bird Sanctuary tour operators. But the other operators within the association are not really benefiting at this time from the opening of the watercourses.
How comes they're not benefiting?
How can they? Who is going to hire a tour operator? If I'm living in Sandy Grande and I want to go to Maracas, I don't need a tour operator to take me to Maracas. However, if I want to go to the Bucco Reef, I need to take a flight to go to Tobago to go out on the Bucco Reef, and I need to pay the Bucco Reef tour operator. So therefore, if you're looking, we have to understand the difference in the product offerings of Trinidad and Tobago. Both have their specialized areas. Trinidad, whilst we have Maracas and we have down the island, which is beautiful, we do not have the Bucco Reef tours and those organized tours as Tobago has, which they're so dependent on for their tourism product. We have many other areas that we are dependent on for our tourism product, which can also focus on our local people, our children who need to get out. You know, you have Lopino, you have Pitch Lake, you have, Israel is closed down now, you have the Gaspery Caves, you have Fort George. These are places that have historical content, and we can really explain to them what is happening. I think Caroni and the River Swamp are happy, but other than that, the rest of the operators would either subcontract those operators or the persons will go to them directly themselves. So when you're looking at a tour operator, which is really a destination management company, somebody who packages all the contents of a tour, for example, the airlift, the hotel accommodation, the visiting to the sites and attractions and so on, hiring of tour guides and all the other supply chain people. We don't have that opportunity at this time at this moment. And this is not something that has just come about from COVID. Yes, COVID has decimated the tourism sector and particularly the tour operating sector and the hoteliers. But generally, I think tourism has been in decline for us for quite a while. COVID was just the icing on the cake. But we hope that as time goes by and there's more collaboration, in fact, there's none, so that there is collaboration with the policymakers or the powers that be, that there'll be an understanding of what is required for the sector to become viable once again.
Let me share something here with you. I heard Brian Manning in the Parliament saying that, the private sector, needs to do more, in terms of, I think he was speaking in terms of growing the economy. Do you agree? Because I always get the feeling that there's so much reliant on the state that when the state doesn't step forward and doesn't put things in place, then we basically see, a lot of businesses just go by the wayside. And as you said, even before the pandemic, things weren't as organized as they could be. Why do we think this is? Do you believe that really and truly that there's too much reliance on the state?
Well, I can speak for the tour operating sector of the tourism industry. There's no reliance on the state. The state has not helped us in any form or fashion for years, okay? Mm-hmm. What the state is responsible for in tourism, there needs to be a very strong public-private sector partnership. as happens in St. Lucia, as happens in Barbados, and the other successful islands within the Caribbean. There's a strong, strong, strong public-private sector partnership. Private sector is the one that invests the money, invests the time, the experience, and the wherewithal into creating their businesses. And they, along with the government, who does the international marketing, the positioning of the destination, the providing of the insurances that the sites and attractions are up to standard, and so on. That needs to be in place. So I don't agree with that it relates to tourism at all, because we have in our association over 400 years of collective experience in the industry. And this is not because people gave us a grant or people gave us a handout for us to develop our businesses. These businesses develop because of the passion of the people, because we believe that Trinidad and Tobago is a beautiful destination and that there is potential to earn income from the tourism sector and from visitors coming into the island. What happens is that the public sector, which is the government, is responsible for international marketing, for positioning the destination, for ensuring that the things that need to happen, ease of doing business for people who want to invest in Trinidad and Tobago. We cannot do it on our own. We can, yes, sure, we can supply certain tours and so on, but we cannot do it on our own. There needs to be the attraction of beneficial air flight into the country, okay, and not only Tobago, into Trinidad also. So we need to have people being able to access the destination via air and via sea. So that talks about cruise ships. What are we doing about the cruise shipping industry? Remember something, COVID is not going away right now. COVID is with us for a while. We've got to work with it. But unless there's collaboration with the policymakers and the providers of the service so that it could be a win-win situation for all, we're not going to get anywhere fast. Remember, we had opened the water courses until 2 p.m. My last discussion on that whole situation was, how can you do that and expect Carnival Sanctuary tours to work? Their tours are in the afternoon. Their tours are between 3:30 and 6:30. So, and that came about because there was not collaboration. If there's collaboration, then we can bring the necessary information to the powers that be so that when decisions are taken, it's taken to the benefit of everybody.
Right. I know you mentioned earlier that, a lot of times the domestic market don't really do these tours. What are some of the things you think can be done to encourage them to not just go to the Fort George's or the zoo or, Maracas, whatever else it might be, but also to participate or to partake in these tours that you all do?
Okay, well, our association had started many, many years ago, and then we collaborated with the Tourism Development Company and to a lesser extent the Tourism Trinidad Limited a couple of years ago, where we were offering for the August holidays certain tours and experiences to various sites and attractions. So when we offer tours as an association, we provide the bus, the tour guide, the entrance fees, etc. to the sites and attractions, and people are educated and in a safe environment. All our tour operators have been trained. Most of them have tour guiding certification. We did exactly what was asked of us by the Tourism Trinidad, and what we did was all of us attended all the training from CAFA, etc., so that we would be ready to open. We did boat preparation, we did tour guiding, we did sites and attractions, we did tour operating. We all have these certificates that are in a folder somewhere that cannot be put to use because the sites and attractions are not open. Opening Carney Bird Sanctuary and opening Bucharest is not opening tourism in Trinidad. We have so much more to offer, and we should be having some collaboration with the powers that be to ensure that we have a proper domestic campaign for tourism, showing how we can educate whilst enjoying yourself in a safe way. And our people will become ambassadors to promote Trinidad and Tobago to their friends and family abroad and to everybody abroad.
This is serious. So no stakeholder meeting whatsoever with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts?
None since March 2020, not one. Despite writing, despite requesting, despite lobbying. Very recently, the CEO of Trinidad Tourism has agreed to meet with us, and we are hoping that will be scheduled for some time this week. So we await his word on when he's available so that we can meet and present our concerns. But remember, the TTL is just an agency that reports to the Ministry of Tourism. So if the Ministry of Tourism is not on board, then we are sitting in the wind, as they say.
Mm-hmm. So we talk about Carney Bird Sanctuary and even Bucko Reef, but what about down the islands? Are we allowed to do tours down that side?
Well, I'm assuming once waterways are open and beaches are open, and most of what they have down the islands are beaches, we are under the assumption that that can go ahead. But of course, there's no clarity because there has been no discussion.
In terms of the government and the reopening of the economy, do you think that the government is moving too slow, too fast? Where do you stand on the issue? Because as you're saying that, you know, tourism, the opening of Bucko Reef and Carney Bird Sanctuary is not the reopening of tourism.
I think the government is doing the best that they think they can do, but I think that they think that way because they have not collaborated with stakeholders. And when I talk about stakeholders, I'm not just talking about tour operators. I'm talking about the Tour Guide Association, the Taxi Driver Association, the Hotel Associations, both in Trinidad and Tobago. They have not collaborated, so they do not know what is possible because they're not on the ground. We understand the concerns of COVID, we understand the health issues and so on, but how can you say that you are going to have, bars can open, restaurants can open? I mean, it is so ridiculous. I went into to get some food in a place recently. I was allowed to come in. I was allowed to pay at the cashier. I had on my mask. I saw the tables and chairs set out in the back. They didn't say you had to have a vaccine. I asked, can I sit and eat? They said, no. Can I see your vaccine card? And I said, what? You just sold me. The table is 3 feet away from you. You just sold me food, and you're telling me I cannot sit here and eat. So sometimes I think the regulations seem quite skewed. They don't seem to really taking and understand what is required. And tour operators, for example, if we go down the islands and our capacity of our boat is 30 and we have 15 people who probably know each other, who are part of a family. Why can't that happen? But I can go into a bar, I can go into a restaurant, and there's no real distancing if you really think about it. If you go into it, I mean, the kind of videos I've seen with parties taking place and overflowing into the streets, I'm wondering if it's one thing for one and another thing for another.
All right, Ms. Pouchet. Well, we really hope that the tour operators, regardless of the circumstances, will be able to, you know, do their job, make their money, have a successful business, and even if it takes time, that you'll get there. But I want to thank you so much.
And Natalee, can I just say in my closing remark that when you are considering opening up a sector, there needs to be a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term plan and goal. Right now, we don't know what's the goal. We have absolutely no idea what's the goal. Whilst we know it's fluid, because of the COVID-19 situation, we have no idea what are the goals.
Yeah.
Government
well, hopefully when you all meet with tourism, TT, all of these issues will be able to be ironed out, or at least you can put them on the table.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Lorraine Pouchet there of Enjoy Tours, and of course the president of the Tour Operators Association, speaking with us about just some of the challenges that they're still having. And she's saying even though the watercourses are open, there's still ambiguity. Don't know if they can still go down the islands because it wasn't specifically stated.